the horizontal. We control the vertical. Peer into the infrared.
Gamers and fans, this is Tales from the Infrared. Join us as we dive into fandom and explore comics, gaming, sci-fi, and fantasy, all from a red pill perspective. Hold on to your phasers, it's time for a nerdgasm! With your hosts, Dean Esme and Christian Chiasson.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another edition of Tales from the Infrared. I am your host, Christian Chiasson, and joining me, as always, the neck-bearded bastard himself, Mr. Dean Esme. How's it going, Dean?
As always, I seem to recall that I missed the last two episodes, and I apologize to everybody for that, but I was a busy boy. Glad to be back.
Yeah, no need to apologize. I mean, everybody knows you have been swamped with dealing with the logistics of the AVFM conference, so it's entirely understandable why you couldn't make the shows for the last 2 weeks. Joining us also, as always, is Jim Kelbarn. How's it going, Jim?
It's going wonderful. That conference was phenomenal. I'm still catching conference speakers on YouTube. It was amazing.
It was, and hopefully we'll get to talk a little bit about that today. And also joining us is Rachel Edwards.
Hey there!
Yay, the honey badger. Running the back room,
Hey.
as always, is James Huff.
Hi!
And we have a very, very special guest joining us, Dr. Tara Pomadier.
Hello.
Hi. Is everybody ready to go?
Yeah, I have
All right.
I am. I have a very short, very succinct announcement to make, which I should have asked you about sooner, but no big deal. Aaron Pitsey and I are taking a hiatus on Revelations from Revelations with Aaron Pitsey show, so we will not be doing that show probably until August or September. Probably September we'll be coming back. That show's going on hiatus. In case anybody was curious, just letting y'all know now. Otherwise, that's all I got.
That makes me sad.
It does.
Makes me sad too, but we're both very tired. So we just want to take a break.
Well, it's
for a little
understandable.
Yep.
It's understandable.
That's
not only
okay.
did
Give you time to fill in your Rolodex.
Exactly.
and not only did Aaron Pitsey show up to and speak at the AVFM conference, she was also at the Toronto DV Symposium as well. So she had to fly to North America twice this month. So it's entirely understandable that she would be extremely tired. That's a lot of jet lag to deal with in 1 month.
Or knackered, as they
Yeah.
say in the UK.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, I could tell that you guys were really tired when I was at the conference. I mean, you guys would just chill out on the, on the couch and everything, and it'd be like, oh wow, I'm just gonna not bother them.
There are some photos of me having apparently fallen asleep in the hallway. I'm just going to say now those are fake photoshopped lies. I never fell asleep in that conference. That didn't happen. You're all liars, and any of you claim you saw me sleeping are liars too.
Karen said that she saw you sleeping.
Actually, I've got a photo of her and me both asleep, sitting next to each other, sitting next to Aaron.
I wasn't even there, and I saw you sleeping, Dean. So
it was a great conference. So
it was really, really good. I watched the entire live stream, and I have to say, from the perspective of a viewer sitting at home, the conference was a massive success.
Yep, and we think it's going to be bigger and better than ever. I just hope we don't have that screwy redheaded psychologist again. She was just awful.
Yeah, what was her name again? Dr.
Tara something.
I think it was Dr. Yeah,
Dr.
Tara something.
Tara Palmature.
Nah, Dr. T, you were awesome.
She was.
Yeah. And she's a wonderful sense of fashion.
Gee, thank you.
Yeah, I will say that I cut your speech just recently. It was excellent. I enjoyed it immensely, and I actually have a few questions for you later on.
Okay.
But for right now, let us enjoy some Game of Thrones.
Yes, the topic of discussion is Game of Thrones. The season, what was it, season 4? Mm-hmm. Just closed. And they've it's been confirmed that they've signed on for a 5th season, despite the fact that George R.R. Martin has still not finished the books. So the source material is not there yet to draw from. So let's talk about season 4. How did it turn out? Was there anything that you were hoping would happen in season 4 that didn't happen or turned out differently? And maybe we can opine on some predictions for season 5. So who wants to start us off?
I'll give it a shot. When I saw Jon Snow and Ingrid get back together for that short period, and she's pointing the bow at him, I was honestly hoping that something would happen, and they would. She would. I'm going to have to go back to Willow. The part where Mad Mardigan and Saoirse see each other on the battlefield, and then they end up fighting together. I was kind of hoping to see something like that from Ingrid and Jon Snow, and to see her just get that arrow through the heart. Oh, that was disappointing.
You know nothing, Jon Snow.
Yeah. Actually,
oh, go ahead.
To be honest, when I saw Ygritte or whatever, I thought to myself, "Oh God, she is so gonna die." I don't know when, I don't know how, but she's totally going to die. She just strikes me as one of those characters that they create there so that one of the main protagonists falls in love and then just is completely destroyed by the loss of her. So I wasn't.
I thought she was probably a goner too, especially because I have my own pet theory about Jon Snow's ultimate destiny. So, yeah, she can't be left around. I figured they were going to kill her.
In the book, her death was different than how it was portrayed on the HBO program. John,
oh, no. We have someone who's so nerdy that she's actually read the books.
Yes, I have.
Do tell.
Well, she does die in the battle when the wall is under attack, but she's killed by some unknown crow, and her body is burned in a pile. It isn't her and Jon Snow don't get that final last look. And then, although I did think it was poetic justice that the little boy whose parents and village was killed by the Wildings a few episodes back is the one who sunk the arrow into her.
Interesting, but it was still in front of Jon Snow?
No, he never left the. Well, he was up on the wall when it happened.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, in the books, Ygritte and Jon Snow don't have that final sort of stare down.
Yes.
I had a weird.
Well, now he knows something.
I had a weird backlash moment for yesterday, though, and this is only a side diversion. I finally started watching Downton Abbey, which we're not going to talk about Downton Abbey.
I like Downton Abbey.
Well, what flipped me out was
it's very soap opera-y.
And I watched the very first episode, and the wildling chick from Game of Thrones.
Yes,
plays
she's one of the
maid.
downstairs maids, yes.
She's a plays a downstairs maid, so I'm wondering, who's that? Who's that? Who's that? Oh, holy shit, it's her. I was waiting.
It's
She's
great.
sitting there in a frilly maid's outfit, and I'm waiting for her to take out a bow or just knife somebody. So, good actress.
Yeah.
Good actress.
Yeah. Me, I've still been watching Penny Dreadful. Actually, I think the season close finally happened, and it ended up being a better season than I thought about overall. If you're expecting anything different from Penny Dreadful, just know that as long as you understand going in that it's basically Victorian porn, you're going to be fine.
That's
Victorian
Interesting.
softcore porn.
All right, before we get off this,
Okay, we're going to say...
I was
go
also
ahead.
watching the first episode of Downton Abbey, which takes place at the turn of the in about 1912, and they mentioned something called that sounds like a Penny Dreadful story. So that was two weird outs from for me while I'm watching the first episode of Downton Abbey. That actress, and they mentioned Penny Dreadful, which I know is one of your favorites. Anyway, that's all I got.
So, one of the highlights for me this season was when Joffrey finally was killed. I watched that scene probably 4 times over.
Yeah.
It was so gratifying.
Yes, it
on
was.
so many levels. It was
Not to be
just-
too graphic, but that scene kind of gave me a Woody.
A little bit.
I was so don't get me wrong. I think Jack Gleason, the
Fabulous actor.
incredible actor, absolutely incredible actor. I mean, he did an amazing job making us hate the
He
character
was
of Joffrey.
Such a good little sick sociopath. He was.
I'm sad to see Jack Gleason go,
It's
but
cool
I am
to me.
very happy to see Joffrey die.
Yes.
It's cool to me because rarely can a movie or TV villain get me to actually hate them. Normally when I'm watching TV, oh, you're the villain, okay, you're the bad guy, and you're going to do bad things. But no, I really hated him. So, yeah, and that's major kudos to the actor that he was able to make me hate him. I wanted
Well,
to
the
kill
other
myself.
actor who finally died, which was also gratifying, but again, a splendid actor, and I will miss him, is Tywin Lannister, who was murdered by Tyrion on the Crapper.
Oh, yeah.
That
did not see
is
that
the
coming.
very definition of poetic justice.
Oh, and
I don't think just Tywin, but also
Shay?
his former Shay. That whole escape scene with where he killed both Shay and Tywin, all of that together.
that was actually
phenomenal.
different in the book too, if you want to know.
Yeah, I heard that. I also heard that Jaime Lannister explained how his
Yes,
original wife was not actually a whore, and Tywin.
a farmer's daughter.
Yeah.
And so actually he and Tyrion and Jaime do not part on good terms, and Tyrion in the book tells Jaime about all of the sexual dalliances Cersei has had throughout the court among the Knights Guard, because she's using her sexual wiles to manipulate people, because when you play the Game of Thrones, you win or you die. And so Jaime, it was so his character in the book continues to progress. So you don't see that sort of sex reunion that they did on the last episode where they're sort of professing their love for one another again. Jaime evolves into, it's like he seems to be in the books growing a conscience. And also, we don't have to get into this right now, but that quote-unquote rape scene between Cersei and Jaime that was portrayed on the show was not portrayed as a rape scene in the book.
Yeah, let's get into that. I mean,
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's talk about
from what I saw, that wasn't really too much of a rape scene. She was saying no the whole time, but
Well, in the book
she wasn't really fighting either.
No, well, and in the book the protest was, we probably shouldn't have sex underneath our dead incest son.
Yes.
In the sect, in the church.
Even in the show, that's the impression that I got. She wasn't saying no to the sex. She was saying no to the location and the situation.
Yes.
She was saying no to the fact that it was happening right next to the dead body of their son, product of incest son, Joffrey.
Oh, and when I was watching that, I was just like, no, they are not. They're not going to do that right there. Oh, my God. They're having sex underneath their dead son. Holy shit.
But all throughout this season,
wild.
I did get the impression that Jamie was growing a conscience, and you may agree or disagree.
That has been happening since the third season, once he hooked up with Brienne of Tarth, actually.
And I was just going to say, whether you agree or disagree, I kind of wanted to see Jamie and Brienne sort of get together. As weird as that may sound, because she is a giant of a woman.
I don't
think it sounds weird at all. In fact, you can, if you watch, you can tell the actress is putting some sort of attraction into the character for the character of Jaime Lannister, and you can see it's somewhat returned, but they're not. Jaime, while he doesn't have a whole lot of integrity, he does have some, and he is to some degree promised to his sister, but you can see that he's slowly moving away from that and towards Brienne.
Yeah.
But then they sort of come back and they have that whole scene where he's back to professing his love to Cersei, even though he should know that it's wrong.
Well, I think
it seems like over the last two seasons that it was dawning on him that it was wrong, but then he just sort of 180s at the last minute.
Well, I think he knows that it's wrong. It's just he's so used to it. He's so stuck in the loop, as I call it, and that's just it. We all have our loops that we get stuck in, and he's trying to break out of it, and it's a slow process for him. I would not be surprised, and this is one of the predictions I have for season 5, if Jaime finally gets away from Cersei.
Yeah, I'm hoping
I'd like
for that.
to see that. I'd like to see that.
Well, I've read ahead about what happens to the kingdom after Tywin dies. I won't spoil it, but let's just say Cersei's not a very good administrator.
Yeah, let's talk about that. I mean, at least. I mean, seriously though, you're thinking about that, and I'm thinking about that. I'm like, oh man, everything is just gonna go to shit. Because Cersei, I think she's in love with the idea of power, but I don't think she'd be a really great ruler.
She thinks she's smarter than she is.
Yeah,
I already knew that.
Cersei has always come off to me as sort of like the Game of Thrones embodiment of narcissism.
Oh, yes.
Like, she is just so narcissistic that, like, she is...
You don't get much more narcissistic than having a love affair with your own twin, right?
Yeah. Love affair with your own twin, and then making the product of incest that, become king. That's kind of a fucked up situation.
Kind of?
Yeah, can we talk a bit about...
Can we just really call it an extremely fucked up situation?
Very much a fucked up situation.
Yeah. Can we talk a bit about the fact that they've been making her a more sympathetic character in the TV series than they probably should?
I don't see her as sympathetic at all in the series.
Do tell, Tara.
Well, even when she's professing sad emotions, it's manipulation. Look at the scene she had with Oberyn Martell, where she's talking about her dead son and his dead niece and nephew and sister. Meanwhile, it's her father who had his family killed. So she's using her grief over her children to try to manipulate Oberyn into condemning Tyrion, right? At his trial for having poisoned Joffrey, which of course he did not do. It was a conspiracy between Littlefinger and the Lady of Roses, Marjorie, Tyrell's mother. Brilliantly played by Diana Rigg, by the way. Those scenes between her and Tywin Lannister, superb.
Yeah, they are some of the scenes that have gotten me hooked.
But I actually want to ask you, Rachel, what makes you think that Cersei was portrayed as a more sympathetic character?
Well, I really do think that those scenes, well, I think we talked about it a bit before, where they had, I think at least in season 1, where they tried to have her say that she was making it about the reason why she had a falling out with Baratheon was because he, I guess, cheated on her and hoarded up and stuff like that, when really and really it was her, she never really loved him at all. She was, always in love with Jamie, and that's really what was going on. And then there's a tendency to try and make it seem like that one scene where they had sex by her son's corpse was a little more non-consensual, whereas they could have made it clearly, like really, really clearly consensual. But it's almost like they're trying to make it so that, she's less of a bitch than she actually is, less of a crazy narcissistic sociopath than she really is.
Is it the case that, and talking about that quote-unquote rape scene again, was it written that way to be portrayed as a rape scene, or did the media just take that scene, call it a rape scene, and just run with it?
See, I think it's the media more. I think it's the media more. I think it's it might also have to do with the way it's been written for screen. I don't know if people are really ready often on television to see that kind of crazy, narcissistic, sociopathic woman. I think they have a problem with seeing that on television.
Well, actually, I do have a thought on that. I think they are portraying her as less narcissistic than she is. But, Dr. Tara keeps coming up. She is, like, full-on narcissistic. As a psychologist, I'm sure she knows better the signs than we do. But you do see it.
Yeah.
You do see it. And I think if anything, they're kind of toning it down to get it in there that women can be narcissistic.
Well, yeah. But like I said, they are toning it down a bit. I mean, they do. But it's really crazy, though, to think that you could sit there and do that and tone it down for whatever reason you feel you need to.
I've had somebody try to tell me who's read the books, and I haven't, that actually the women are portrayed a little more sympathetically in the movie or in the TV series than they are in the books. I don't know if Dr. T has a comment on that. I'm curious.
Well, in the books, you get into much granular levels about what's going on. The 55-minute show, there's only so much you can portray, which is one of the reasons I decided to read the books along with the series, is because you get to there. I think that there's you see more that's going on that HBO obviously for time constraints and budget reasons can't portray. I think Cersei is pretty vile in both the books and the series. Catelyn Stark, if there was a wrong decision to be made, she made it. Sansa Stark, kind of sick of her. She's just floating along in the tidal pool of her life. Arya, I like.
Actually, when it comes to Sansa, I mean, I've noticed in the last 2 episodes of season 4, you really kind of see her turn around, and she seems to be attracted to, not sexually attracted. Maybe she's sexually attracted to Littlefinger, but she's more or less becoming more attracted to being around Littlefinger. She seems to be becoming a little bit more devious.
She's becoming his protege, I think.
Well, there's the thing. For the first couple 3 seasons, I went back and forth between feeling sorry for Sansa and hating her for being such a hypo agent nothing. But I kept having to remind myself, wait a minute, she's 13, 14, and this is in way over her head, and she has no allies. What else is she going to do? It was interesting watching her turn at the end of this 4th season. Whether she's attracted to Littlefinger or not, you can just see it in her eyes. She has figured out this is how the game is played, and I'm going to play.
She's learning to play. Yeah. Well, it's either that or keep doing as she's been doing, which isn't working out so well for her.
The Starks don't have a habit of making good decisions, do they? Well,
no, they don't. They're dropping off like flies and just disappearing.
Well, but so are the Lannisters now, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Which was interesting to watch how the house that was in such power the first two seasons is now. I'm sorry, I think the FedEx is at my door. I'll be right back.
I think the biggest shock for me throughout the series was like the end of the battle between the Mountain and Oberon. I'm like, holy fucking shit! No, I mean...
Yeah, the Lannister house is now in big trouble. Jaime is basically, who's still part of the King's Watch. I guess he can leave, I think. I don't know how that works. He's part of the King's Guard. He's now basically going to be the heir to the Lannister family. Or can he be? I mean, who's in charge of the Lannister family?
I think he'll have to be.
He'll have to be, that's right. He'll have to be in charge of the family now. Either that or they say, well, he's King's Guard, so he can't be, so then it has to be, well, no, I guess it's the King. Because he's Cersei. No, because he's a Lannister.
Well, no, like, they did make it clear that Jaime can leave the King's Guard at any point so that he could have a family. He's only bound by that oath as long as he remains in the King's Guard, but they made it perfectly clear that he could leave at any point, anytime he wants to.
I'm hoping he will. I'm hoping he really does leave the King's Guard, because it's really a toxic situation for him. And I think as Cersei just gets crazier and more drunken, I think it's just going to come to a head. And he's just going to say, you know what? Fuck this. I'm out.
Well,
Jaime?
Yeah.
I think that you're right. He is going to eventually get out of there and take the reins of things, because you can tell already Cersei's just screwing things up.
Yeah, and I think Jaime does see that.
I don't think she has.
Well, despite being madly in love with her, I think Jaime does sort of see that Cersei is she's incompetent, and she continuously bites off more than she could chew.
The mother of madness.
Exactly. She could never deal with whatever she takes onto her plate at any given time. She can't deal with it.
You remember what he said before he had sex with her in the sept? He said, "Why do I have to hate? Why do I have to love a hateful woman?" or something like that.
Yes.
Like, why do I have to love a hateful woman? And you think to yourself, oh shit, he's starting to realize that, what's going along with this love affair. I think they're going to drive farther and farther apart, because I think that being away from the kingdom has really changed him. And he may be falling into those comfortable behaviors, those things that make him feel okay for right now, but I don't think it's going to be okay for the long term. I think he's going to step away from her.
Yeah, I see that happening. Also, getting back to Sansa, I don't think she's so much attracted to Littlefinger as she's starting to figure out that this what she's been doing has not been working. And, I think she said it best, pretty much, I'll paraphrase, basically, better the devil I know than the devil I don't.
Yeah.
With the situation with her aunt.
I think she understands now, though, that she does have a certain kind of power, because she understands that Littlefinger wants her. And I think she also understands what goes along with that.
That scares me to death as well.
Yeah.
I mean, Littlefinger is just...
She knows that she stands more to gain by just dragging him along for a while than actually giving in. The moment she gives in, she loses.
Yes.
And she understands that this is how the game is played, and that she's going
just
to
getting off a topic just a little bit. Has anybody else noticed Littlefinger's become more Irish in his accent this season?
Yeah, that is a little bit odd.
I think I've remarked on this before, and I'm convinced. Yes, that is an Irish accent. I'm good with accents, and he suddenly turned Irish. Most of the show uses English accents, as I'm sure you've mentioned. And I think that's an effort to say that when he was in King's Landing, he cultured himself to have a sort of nobility-type accent, but that's a signal from the show that now he's speaking with his real accent, which is lower class.
What I thought was interesting about his character this past season is we finally discovered that Littlefinger is, well, I mean, I assumed he was one of the big players, but he's the one, I mean, he struck the blow with the hand Jon Arryn, who was not murdered by Cersei. It was murdered by his wife, Lysa Arryn, because she wanted to be with Littlefinger. So, he really did initiate the demise of the house, the Stark house, and the war, which was pretty amazing.
And there's a ship with Stannis up in the north. Oh, sorry,
I
go
think
on.
Littlefinger is actually almost a master manipulator.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the whole point of his character, is to manipulate the events. Whether or not he's doing a good job, that remains to be seen, but he is manipulating a lot of the events.
But all for personal power and gain, whereas Varys, who is his counterpoint, I think, is actually, which it wasn't clear at first, is trying to do what's in the best interests of the Seven Kingdoms.
I'd have to agree with that, but it still remains to be seen. And I think we'll find out more this coming season.
Yeah. Especially the thing with Stannis, I'm like, suddenly he's there in the middle of the wildling army. And
but you know what? He out of all of the asshat kings, self-appointed kings who are fighting for the Iron Throne, he's the only one of that lot who did his duty by going up to protect the kingdom at the Wall.
Yeah, true.
That is true, and he also seems to be the most sane out of all the candidates for the throne.
Crazy
folks.
crazy red bitch buddy aside, yes.
Yeah.
Folks, I'm going to hate to break in like this, but we do have another guest that's coming onto the show. Paul Elam is with us at this time, and perhaps you guys can switch the topics for a few minutes while we get Paul's ideas.
Paul is a Game of Thrones fan now. Dean and I sucked him in. So
Yes. Good morning, everybody. Good morning to those of you, especially who've made me waste a ton of money buying Game of Thrones DVDs. But we won't get into that. I'm glad to be.
And Paul we have some spoiler alert for Paul, because I believe the last I heard he's only at season 3.
Well, you know something? It doesn't matter, because you guys fuck up everything I watch with spoiler alerts when we're talking privately anyway. So
Fair enough.
We could just talk about the conference.
Let's talk about Game of Thrones.
Okay, yeah,
Fair enough.
Okay, so we were discussing Stannis Baratheon and how he's the sanest one, aside from his choice of crazy redheaded lovers.
I'll be honest with you. I don't see. He may be the sanest one, but it's like
he's still pretty.
It's still a scale of like a 6 in insanity versus a 12.
Stannis has his issues as well. His wife is batshit banana pants. Then there's the Red God, or the Red God of Light, Melisandre, who is basically harvesting the blood of royals to perform her magic. I do like the Onion Knight, however, Sir Davos.
Yeah. I love him too. He's great.
Yeah.
I just want to see him grow as a character and stay alive. I really hope he does, for the most part, as long as possible.
That show has a nasty habit of killing people off pretty quick.
Valor Margulis, All Men Must Die, which when I saw the billboard advertising this season, All Men Must Die, I'm like, oh shit, the feminists are going to take that seriously.
Well, I gotta give props to
their next Twitter campaign.
I've got to give props to Crystal Garcia.
Yeah.
She saw that. All men must be loved.
Yeah, she did.
You know how offensive that is to feminists.
I don't give a shit.
Yeah. Nope.
Feminists can go off and play their own Game of Thrones, but no, I don't care how offensive it is to them.
Oh, they've been playing their Game of Thrones for the past 150 years.
Yeah.
To what Paul said, though, no, Game of Thrones, no character is sacred, even more so than The Sopranos, which had a habit of killing off much, fan favorites.
I have to slightly disagree with that. I mean, there seems to be a bit of protection for characters that the viewer hates. Like, if you hate a character, they will live longer than a character that you like. If you like a character, as soon as you really like the character, they die. But with a character like Joffrey,
or they turn crazy though.
I must point out to everybody listening here that every show has its red shirts.
Yeah, yes, that is true.
Yeah.
Yes, that goes back to Star Trek and the red shirts and how they would never survive the episode.
Yeah, I actually heard, I think, someone discuss how they thought that we should have the next conference with the security people in red shirts.
That's just wrong.
I know. I think it was somebody on security who said that, though.
Well, you know what's really funny? I'll tell you a funny story about the conference, too. The security guys were in black, and Al's second in command in security, who did all the radio work for the security team, is a major Star Trek nerd, and specifically asked not to wear a red shirt for that reason. That's why security was in black and other staff were in red. I'm not kidding. I gave him a little Star Trek. I gave him a little Star Trek badge while we were there, and he wore it the whole convention.
I saw that.
Yeah, he wore it the whole convention.
Yeah, it was adorable.
Well, that's a good thing because definitely red shirt means set phaser to kill.
Yeah. Or have some horrible transporter accident or something. Whatever the situation, the red shirt always dies.
Oh gosh.
Unless you have an accent. So I mean, Scotty was pretty much protected, and he was in a red shirt. But that's just because he had a non-American accent.
I want to go back to
awesome too.
I want to go back to the Game of Thrones. Favorite comedy road team this year: Arya and the Hound.
Oh yes.
Yes.
I was very disappointed with what happened and how they broke that up. But at the same time,
she has to go to Bravos.
Yeah, but at the same time, it was very satisfying with how she just basically. Go ahead, Christian.
There's Paul is here. He's only seen up to season 3. He hasn't seen season 4, so I don't want to spoil it too much, but I kind of have to.
The thing is, hold on, let me just interject before you do that. Game of Thrones is so fucking good, I don't even care if I get spoiler alerts.
All right, then. In that case, last episode, Arya, Brienne finally catches up with Arya, and she discovers that Arya is with the Hound, and they have a little fight scene. Brienne... Okay, it's a pretty major fight scene.
Beat the crap out of each other.
Yeah, but Brienne comes out victorious. The Hound is dying slowly.
And Arya just basically takes his money and walks away.
No, doesn't even do. She stares at him and lets him go on this rant. Please kill me. I'm going to die. Just get it over with.
I think she learned a little too much from the Hound.
I want you to kill me because if you remember when she was naming off all the people on her hit list,
she
named the Hound last.
Yeah, but I think the thing with it is she got to respect him at least a little bit. But at the same time, I think she also learned a little too much from him and decided, after all that's happened, I don't know whether it's her being a vicious little cunt or if she actually was showing some mercy and giving him a chance to survive.
I think it was a little bit of both.
Being vicious. I think that what was going on inside Arya's mind at that point was I'm gonna make you suffer. You're gonna die slowly. You are gonna.
I don't know.
She
had a hell of a poker face. I couldn't read it well enough to say one way or the other.
Yes, like I said, I think it was a little bit of both because she has, developed a certain amount of empathy for the Hound because he's taken care of her all this time. But at the same time, he's sitting there and listing off reasons for her to kill him. But she understands that he's going to die anyway. So she thinks that. So overall, letting him there and just kind of slowly die is probably a worse punishment than actually letting herself be the one to kill him.
Well, don't forget.
This way, guys, I got a question here as somebody that is not caught up on all this. When we're talking about the Hound, you're not talking about one of the dire wolves, correct?
No, we're talking about the Hound face, the scarred by fire face.
Yeah.
He used to be
Joffrey for like 3 seasons.
Yeah, his brother was Gregor Clegane,
the Mountain.
I believe it was the first season when we got to see Brienne get knighted by winning the tournament.
Right.
Second season. That happened after Ned Stark was killed, yes.
That's right.
She was at Renly's camp. Mm-hmm.
And the Hound is the long-haired guy where half his face has burn scars. And
in the third season, he saved Sansa from being raped by those 3 or 4 guys in the alley.
Hey, is there anybody here but me that is still upset that Ned Stark was killed?
I am.
We're all still upset.
I love Jeffrey.
I like Ned.
I've liked him since Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, but he dies in everything he's in.
But then again, it was also mentioned on this show that the Starks have been making all of the wrong decisions up until this point. Starting with Ned Stark. Ned Stark, when he learned the truth in the first season, he had a choice. Keep it to himself or try and fight it. Now, being the honorable guy that he is, he had to fight it. And he made it completely known to Cersei what he knew and what he planned to do about it.
That was dumb.
And that was really dumb.
That was the dumbest thing you could have done. But
you don't tell a sociopath, "Hey, I've got the goods on you,
and I'm going to fuck you over." Yeah, not a good plan at all.
You do it. But it was his sense of honor. He didn't care about her, but he didn't want to see the children suffer, so he was giving her the opportunity to escape with her children. Fatal mistake. Never show mercy to a sociopath.
Because what I've noticed in Game of Thrones, and we see the same thing in Walking Dead, and recently I've been watching The Last Ship. Another apocalyptic world's going to end, this time by a virus. And the common theme through every one of these programs seems to be that people with values don't last very long.
Actually, honestly, I have to say that is actually a very astute observation.
Mm-hmm.
It's happening a lot in a lot of TV shows lately. It seems like those who have values don't last, and those who are willing to do whatever it takes to survive are the ones that go on.
Although in the case of Walking Dead, I've got to say that Rick is sort of a tragic anti-hero who seems to struggle mightily with himself and a lot of the decisions that he has to make.
I think if they killed Rick off, though, that would be like the end of things. That all goodness, because certainly his son has gone to the dark side of survival, which is arguably necessary. But I think Rick is the only thing left in The Walking Dead that represents the struggle between survival sociopathy and human values.
Well, not quite, because his son, sure, in the comics, his son is just a violent psychopath.
Right.
In the comics, he is probably the most dangerous of the main characters, despite being so young and so little. But in the show, they still portray him as having, a large enough sense of humanity. So at this point in the show, in The Walking Dead, he can go either way.
I think you're right. I think I stand corrected. They could probably kill Rick, and you would still have somebody to embody that struggle.
I think Michonne in some ways is similar in respect.
Well, I think Michonne is what's actually keeping Carl from losing his sense of humanity. Michonne, because his father's not doing it. His Rick is not doing anything to keep Carl from becoming a violent psychopath. But Michonne, she's really holding on to that. And she's keeping him grounded.
Yeah, I haven't been watching that series for a long time. I mean, gosh, yeah, I'm way behind. I don't know if I'll pick it back up again.
Well, I'll give you a hint. There's a lot of exploding zombie heads and
well, yeah.
that are war with each other over property and resources.
Yeah, last I checked, they were still in the jail, or at least where I was last watching.
Well, they managed to burn that place pretty much to the ground.
Yeah. They've made it to a place called Terminus now.
Yes. Which they will eventually burn to the ground as they kill zombies.
Yeah. But getting back to Game of Thrones, I wanted to ask Dr. T, how did you read the whole situation with the Hound dying and Arya just sort of staring at him before picking his pockets and running off, or walking away slowly like a badass?
Well, I think she was conflicted. She hated him. He was on her kill list, and but then in many ways he became a mentor and father figure to her. And I honestly think it could go either way, right? She was either showing him mercy, or you would say, cleaning him where he's obviously going to die would have been showing him mercy. But I think she was conflicted. And then on the other hand, she suffered so much trauma. I suspect she's had to shut down her emotions. So I'm not sure entirely. I like to think it was that she cared about him on some level, and that's why she didn't kill him. But I could be wrong.
Anybody else? Because I do want to really discuss this scene, because even though it doesn't seem like it, it's actually a very powerful scene.
It is a very powerful scene.
It is.
Because she promised to kill him.
Mm-hmm.
And yet there's an affection there, and she's very conflicted. So the one way of reading it as she was being cruel because he was dying. And by the way, we don't know he's dead. But he believed he was dying. She believed he was dying. And she just walks away instead of killing him. When she had
he was taunting her to kill him, which I thought showed pretty good restraint for her, talking about, I should have raped your sister, I killed your friend, the butcher's boy, and just, he was taunting her to try to provoke her into just finishing him off, and she wouldn't do it.
So that's either because she was conflicted because she started to see him as human and not evil after all, or it was a vindictive move. And I don't know which way of reading it. Because if he is dying,
I think it was a vindictive move. I honestly think what was going on inside her mind was, I'm gonna make you suffer. I'm not gonna kill you quick. You're gonna bleed out. You're gonna die slowly, and you are going to die in pain. Because the entire time she was with him, he made it perfectly clear in almost every scene, the only reason why he's still around was to get his ransom.
But not entirely true, because once they got to the Bloody Gate, where Aunt Liza was, which was a great scene, by the way, where they tell her that, finally she's going to get to the family member who will pay a ransom for her, and Liza is dead, pushed through the moon door by Littlefinger, and she's just...
She breaks out in a maniacal laughter.
It's because every time she gets close to getting to, something that's home, her mother, her brother, her aunt, they die.
Everybody's dead.
So who is the Hound going to ransom her to now? But still, he keeps her with him.
I
He didn't just
the Hound
kill her
actually
or
had
dump
some.
her.
I think the Hound had some affection for her.
I
She
do
was
too.
growing on him.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't see it so much as a vindictive move, how she did that. But this may just be the way I see things, and it may just be my naivete. I don't know. That, she did have some affection for him, and, maybe he could have died. Maybe he could live. You never know. I can't say, it was a definite vindictive move. But at the same time, I don't think if she cared for him enough, she wouldn't have gone for help to make sure he lived. It's a hard call for me.
Well, I think it can be both, right? Like, she had affection, so she didn't want to deliver the blow, but justice was, because he did do some pretty awful stuff, was to die the death that fate handed him, I think.
I'll have to agree with you on that.
I really don't think that there was any other choice, to be honest. I mean, I think we can say that maybe she could have killed him, but I don't think she had it in her. I think that it was easier for her to kill those other people because, they did something wrong, but she sort of warmed up to him, and even if it was a mercy killing, I don't know if she could bring herself to do it because of that affection.
And she's lost everyone.
Yeah,
every single person who has mattered to her.
Well,
she has lost.
One thing I think is funny, we go back to when they went up to the Bloody Gates. Sansa was there. I mean, she could have been reunited with family, but
but she's posing as Littlefinger's bastard niece, or daughter, or something. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Is I thought it was hilarious to have Sansa right there, and she could have been with her sibling, and nope, didn't happen.
Well, that's the tease. That's the tease in the series. That didn't happen in the book, and the fight with Brienne and the Hound didn't happen in the book. And they did that tease also with having Brandon Stark outside Casters, that creepy wilding guy who kills his male sons and reproduces with his daughters. Like, Brandon Stark and Jon Snow were never that close to having a reunion. So that's the HBO series giving its audience a little respite. George Martin in the books is not as nice.
And can we talk about the bit with Bran? I mean, that for me was also one of the most shocking parts of the final episode of the season, because here you are, they've gotten out there, they've gotten to the tree and everything, and then suddenly what do you call it? Okay, they're not White Walkers. They're being controlled by the White Walkers, and they're coming up and they're popping through the snow like daisies. And then suddenly, stab, our guy who's been on the quest with us this entire time. Yeah, he's dead. And they're like, shit. So then they gotta run in there, and then there's this sort of creepy child thing. He's like, come in here, get under the roots of the tree, and talk to this other sorcerer dude.
The three-eyed crow.
Yeah, three-eyed crow. Talk to him and stuff. And we have no idea what's gonna happen after that. I know I didn't.
Yeah, that's the big werewood tree, and Jojen doesn't die in the book either. But it'll be interesting to see what happens there. I'm not sure. I haven't progressed that far in the book.
Yeah, I was like sort of stab. I'm like, shit. What? I didn't expect that.
I do like how he's just taken over Hodor.
Yeah, he's just warging into Hodor.
He's warging in Hodor. There's an app called Yo Hodor. It just says Yo Hodor. You can download it onto your phone.
There's actually a which Game of Thrones character are you on the oatmeal, and basically the only choices you have basically lead you to being Hodor. No matter what you choose, you end up being chosen as Hodor.
Can you imagine being that actor and getting your script? Oh, what do I say this? Hodor. Hodor.
Does he even get the script? I mean, beyond the actions, it should be real. It should be real obvious. That's his only line. Does he just throw it in as just the occasional Hodor whenever, or is it actually scripted where he has to say Hodor?
Well, I think it would be a waste of paper to just print it out on the script.
Sure enough.
So the director just says, okay, when this happens, you say Hodor. And action.
Yes, but you know who we haven't talked
Hodor,
about?
You say Hodor.
Theon Greyjoy. And
shit!
Yes.
Oh, God.
That was painful. Last season, watching him be tortured by Ramsay Bolton was painful to watch, and this season was just
watching him become Reek.
Oh my God! I mean, he was not a sympathetic character, but even so,
what was done to him?
Like he didn't deserve what happened to him, and I have to ask Doc.
This is the guy who burned some boys to death.
He did not he did not deserve that. He wasn't a very sympathetic character to begin with, but he was still close to the Starks.
Well, he deserved to be beheaded for his betrayal and for what he did, but I don't know that he deserved to be castrated emotionally, psychologically broken down, having his identity shattered to the point now where he's essentially Ramsay Bolton's little lapdog. Yes, master. He's like Renfield.
He's a human pet.
He's like Renfield now.
I don't think anybody deserves that.
It really is.
I want to see him snap and kill that torturing, sick, blankety blank.
Me too.
Yeah,
you mean the sick fuck who tortured him? Yeah, I think that would be a good idea.
I mean, he's a sadist. That guy. That guy's like shit. I mean,
he could probably give Joffrey a run for his money in how sadistic he is.
Yeah.
Joffrey was child's play compared to the Bolton bastard.
Yeah.
Who is now important. That's amazing.
Yeah, and he earned his name. His father finally gave him the name Bolton, so he is no longer Ramsay Snow. He's Ramsay Bolton.
So is Snow just supposed to be a generic name for bastard?
Okay, so in each of the kingdoms, bastard children are given a name. So in the north, it's Snow. Down at River Run, where the Tullys live, Catelyn Stark's family seat, it's I think Waters. So if you have a bastard kid, you can name him John Waters. And each of the kingdoms has their own regional bastard name.
I see. And if you have a bastard with if you have a bastard with your sister, you name him Joffrey.
That's right.
Yes. and you give him the name Baratheon instead of the name Lannister.
Well, I'm going to repeat my theory, and this was originally my wife's theory, but the more I watch, the more I'm convinced Jon Snow is the bastard son of Robert Baratheon and Ned Stark's dead sister. And that's who Jon Snow really is, and that's why he's still important to the story, because that's eventually going to be revealed, that he is actually King Robert Baratheon's son, and that his mother was not a whore. His mother was Ned Stark's sister. And,
now, you do realize that we are all sitting here talking about the 2014 version of Days of Our Lives.
Of course we are.
Yes.
Yeah, but there's
absolutely.
Yeah, but there's titties and gore in this.
And there's dragons.
Titties and gore. So,
yes, there's dragons. Lots of blood, which is always good, but it is essentially the same thing.
And I remember watching the WWF and later on the SmackDown and all that, and if you're into the wrestling programs, after you've watched it for a few years, you come to realize that this is really just a soap opera for men.
Essentially, yeah.
It really is.
They actually talk about that on South Park in that one episode. Oh gosh,
do you think they only show gay wieners because women are not threatened by gay wieners? That was.
Hey, floppy.
Oh gosh, yeah, wiener, floppy wiener, something. Yeah.
That was an excellent episode of South Park.
Oh gosh, well, I was actually talking about the wrestling episode, but here's the thing: it's pretty funny when South Park sneaks in from behind and ends up being probably some of the best satire of our time, and nobody fucking expected it because it was just a bunch of toilet humor.
Oh yeah, I still love South Park, and they managed to stay so topical because they run the most insane production schedule of any show anywhere on television.
Starting 6 days before they actually air, yeah.
That's right. That's when they start writing and filming, is 6 days to air. Every single episode. And so that's why they're so creepily topical and like because it's all about stuff that's happened in the last week or two.
That's brilliant writing.
Well, it can be. Some are better than others, but yeah, they go. And who can be that topical? Only them, because they run that. They're basically going like we did at our conference, only during an entire production season. I'm surprised they haven't killed more of their staff by now.
Oh gosh, I think I would have to say, and without going too far off topic, I think my favorite moment, South Park moment, was when they did the sort of Totoro Cthulhu moment, and Cartman makes friends with evil Cthulhu, and they just go around killing shit. They go around killing like Justin Bieber and like every terrible thing they can think of.
I think that was the Coon and Friends miniseries.
Yes, I know. Oh, that was great.
Yeah.
Hey, let's get Paul in for a bit and hear more of his thoughts on Game of Thrones.
Yeah. I guess, besides it being a 2014 version of Days of Our Lives, what are you thinking about this? Like, what do you think of the show?
Well, I have to qualify it. It's 2014 version of Days of Our Lives with copious amounts of blood and sex, which does set it aside a little bit from the old thing. No, I haven't had time to watch past the point that I am now in the third season. I'm looking forward to the rest of it, but I find that it is it feels like a throw off of Tolkien and at the Walking Dead. That's what I feel like about Game of Thrones. It's a Walking Dead meets Tolkien, which is a great combination for me. I think it explores like any good programming. It explores the questions of the convenience of our morality, when sociopathy works, when it doesn't, and let's face it, sometimes it does. I think the acting in it is generally brilliant, as is the screenwriting, and I find myself able. The other thing that I like about it very much is that the supernatural elements of it are not presented with such bombast that you're just beat over the head with it. There's a subtlety to the supernatural elements of Game of Thrones that makes it more interesting to me. So I've thoroughly enjoyed the series, and I've loved hating some people, and I've loved admiring some people. And of course, yes, the ones I admire usually end up dead, or they have so far. But that's part of the message, I think, of the series, is looking at the dynamics of power, how it actually works versus the way we would imagine it. And certainly for my generation of days and guys in black hats and white hats, and, you knew who was good and who was bad and when all the time. The ambiguity of the moral and social questions, I think, is very, very well executed in the series.
I'd like to point out one thing that I think differentiates this from a typical soap opera, too, is this is worth saying. This is based on a series of books that have a distinct beginning, middle, and end. So unlike your typical soap opera where they continually find excuses to keep going until the audience is bored and they just keep making up situations to keep the audience strung along to keep watching forever and ever and ever, this series is going to end, and it's going to have a distinct beginning, middle, and end.
And doesn't that suck? The same thing.
It does. I was depressed after Sopranos went off the air. I was just like, no.
Well, I mean, like, okay, you could say that sucks, but I mean, like me and Dean, we've had these conversations on Tales from the Infrared, specifically talking about a show called Supernatural, where we both sort of shared the exact same view, is that it's okay to have a show go on for a bit longer, but there's a point where it overstays its welcome, and you just want it to go away.
Yeah, I was
want
gonna
it
have
to stop.
Yeah, I just started watching Supernatural. You guys are gonna hate me, but yeah, I recently started watching it, and I'll probably be caught up eventually.
I'm gonna have to, if I may.
Yeah.
I've gotten through Supernatural, and there is a point in everything where it is overdone. I believe it goes back to the Happy Days, the jumping the shark. We have to find a point where, okay, this is where it's no longer relevant. This is where it's no longer enjoyable. We're just doing it for the sake of doing it. And every show should find that point.
Yeah, I really think that that's what ended up happening, I guess, towards the end of shows like Buffy and Charmed and Angel, because it got to the point where you knew, just end it already. And it ended up not, sort of.
And I think that's oh, sorry, go ahead, Bob.
Matter of timing, too. I'm wondering if there's anybody here that like me, that thinks that they ended Breaking Bad 2 seasons early. They could have kept going a little while longer.
I agree. They could have probably made it go at least one more season, but I think where they ended Breaking Bad was a very good point. I mean,
it was just a moment of sadness for them.
Everybody knew who Walter White really was. Everybody knew that it was him who was cooking the meth. Everybody knew it was him that was the new rising star of the drug lord business in New Mexico. So where would you go from there? I think they ended it in a very timely manner, and I think they ended on a very good note. With shows like South Park, and this is going back to what I said about shows overstaying their welcome. There's a reason why at the beginning South Park was very story driven, and now it's more about social topics. There's a reason why they made that transition, and it's so that they can keep South Park going for 17, and then they're planning an 18th season.
Well, I will say one thing about Breaking Bad. I will never hear the song My Baby Blue again in the same way.
Yeah, the show, in case anyone didn't know, that's how they ended that by Breaking Bad with that song. And what a great series that was. That's not what we're here to talk about today, but God, what a great series that was.
But getting back to...
So I wanted to talk about Breaking Bad.
Well, getting back to Game of Thrones, and I do, Paul, I really, now that you're here, I do want to talk about the conference, because I think the conference was a massive success, despite a lot of the MSM outlets sort of doing hit pieces, but then again, we've kind of gotten used to that by now. Getting back to Game of Thrones, though.
Maybe do the predictions?
Yeah, let's go into predictions for Season 5. Tara, I know you've read the books, you've read ahead, you know generally what's going to happen in Season 5, even though a lot of the source material...
I don't know how it's going to end, and what I do is I try to read along with the series, so I'm going to wait. I'm going to put down book, I think I'm on book 4, midway through book 4 right now, so I'm going to set that aside, as difficult as that is. What's happening, too, is that... the show, again, time constraints, budget, I imagine, are the reasons why they've sort of reordered some of the events that's going on. So I'm ahead in some areas. In other areas, I'm right up to speed with the book. But like I said, I try to read it as the show airs as a companion piece. Okay. But my prediction, which I am not basing on knowledge from having read the book, is that Jon Snow, I don't know that I believe he's Robert Baratheon's bastard son with Ned's sister. Maybe. Interesting theory, Dean. But I predict he's going to be released from the Crows and will marry Daenerys Targaryen, who I think is going to claim the Iron Throne once she makes her way through the slave cities and crosses the ocean.
Interesting prediction. Because this whole season, I guess the viewer has kind of been like, all right, so when is Daenerys going to sail back to Westeros with her army? And she's sort of been stuck.
Well, she's learning how to rule right now. She's the only one. She's one of the only ones, the people who are vying for the Iron Throne, who's actually ruling right now and actually conquering cities.
That is true. That is true.
And her dragons are getting bigger.
And a little bit more,
and more
naughtier.
dangerous.
And more deadly. Yeah. And by the way, I think the special effects for whoever HBO is using is doing a tremendous job.
On the dragons? Absolutely.
On the dragons and on the creatures north of the wall, the mammoth, the giants, that was all pretty cool.
Yeah, it actually it is really well done. I think the thing that's going on with Daenerys, though, is she's starting to understand the cost of power. Because oftentimes when you are put into that position of power, what happens is that you are often isolated from those kinds of close relationships that you may want to have, and she's having to choose. She's having to make sacrifices that she hadn't anticipated on. And I think it's going to be fascinating to see what happens next.
I'll have to agree with that. And Dr. T, the company who does the special effects for Game of Thrones is Spin VFX.
They're fabulous. Love it. Love it. Love it.
Now, Arya Stark, she's on her way to Braavos. Do you anybody here want to make any predictions about what's going to happen to Arya once she gets to Braavos? Is she...
I honestly think for a time she'll hook up with the
Two-Faced Man?
No, I was going to say the Prince Oberon's family for a short period of time. Yeah, and then eventually move from there and meet up with Daenerys.
Dallas, Texas.
I don't know about that.
I wanted to talk to Mr. Solin.
Yeah, I'm not too sure about that. I mean,
I'd like to send him, but I don't see
it's already known that Arya wants to learn how to be an assassin like
call me back,
Jaqen.
please, at 214.
Yep.
And my prediction is that's the first thing. That's the whole reason why she's going to Braavos. I mean, he gave her the coin. He taught her to say Vela Morghulis. That's how she got on the boat to go to Braavos in the first place. I think the first thing she's doing when she gets off that boat, she's looking for anybody with connections to the Assassin's Guild that Jaqen belongs to.
She's going to be. She wants to be a water dancer.
She might actually also...
a water
dancer.
Mm-hmm. I missed something. Okay. What's a water
dancer?
The
sword style.
Sword
style practices.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, she might become an assassin. She might also, like I said, it's right now it's unclear her path.
Yeah.
Okay, what about Sansa? Anybody have any predictions about Sansa stuff?
I've got a few.
Yeah, me too. And here's the thing. What's going to happen is this. It's going to come down between who's going to live, Littlefinger or Sansa, because one of them has to die for the other one to continue forward. Because, and I know that Sansa is probably going to think for a while that she can just, use Littlefinger for her own purposes, but eventually Littlefinger's going to get tired of her shit and being strung along, and he's going to just.
What if he marries her?
She can't. She's still married to Tyrion.
Oh, exactly. Right. So the thing about it is that one of them has to die.
Tyrion's been labeled as a fugitive and an outlaw.
Well, that doesn't mean she's got. That doesn't mean they're divorced.
Well,
yeah. One of them has to die, basically. At least in my mind, one of them has to die.
I honestly think it'll be Littlefinger that dies.
Yeah, me too.
I think Sansa's finally becoming manipulative, and
I think she's going to give Cersei a run for her money.
I will have to agree with that. I'm starting to see that, and I liked her character before to a certain extent. She wasn't manipulative. She wasn't a horrible human being, but that leap. It's like she took that leap, and she's just going to keep going.
Yeah, like at the beginning of the series, she was sort of like a passive object, and now she's sort
a
of
wide-eyed romantic who believed in knights and ladies fair and
now
justice.
She's sort of waking up into her own sort of personality, and she's becoming a subject. Now she is now becoming an agent of her own volition.
Yes.
Which I think is actually very refreshing for the character, because after 3 seasons Actually, almost 4, actually, because it was only up until the end of season 4. So about 4 seasons where all she was pretty much was just in the scene, just to be there.
Well, I'll agree with that, but I think what we need to do, what I'm hoping happens is she does scale back and she doesn't go the full on psychotic bitch that gives Cersei a run for her money, because
you never go full sociopath.
Yeah, never go full sociopath. Thank you.
All right, so anybody else have any predictions for Sansa?
Oh gosh.
Yeah,
but
what
yeah.
does she do besides become an assassin / sellsword? I mean, what is she going to go marry somebody? She wouldn't even do.
No, you're
Sansa. Sorry, no, not Arya. Sorry. No.
I think she's going to be less passive. I think she's going to.
I see her going full bore sociopath herself. Because
I don't know.
That's her only way to survive. And where can she go? Right? I mean. She probably can't inherit that keep she's in right now. She's got to, just to survive, she's got to be incredibly manipulative. So, I don't know. I don't have anything else. But I see her going full-blown sociopath and very dangerous.
To survive, she has to disappear. And by disappear, I mean, basically, her identity as Sansa Stark has to disappear. And what needs to happen is that she needs to come into her own and find her way. And I think that being alongside Littlefinger, she's going to understand how to be a passive, or not as sort of a passive manipulator. That basically, if she can nudge things in the right direction and nudge the right people, she can get what she wants.
And she seems to be learning that from Littlefinger, even now, at the keep. Moving on to the Hound. Who has any predictions? Is he going to die? Is it going to turn out that he lives?
Well, he said
he's alive.
I was going to say he said he's dead. He said there is no chance for him.
It's all infected and shit, unless they get a healer or something.
He's going to live.
Yeah,
that's my prediction. He's going to be alive. We'll see. But
I'd like to see him see that, because I've actually grown to have some affection for the Hound myself, but. I don't know. With the track record for killing off the characters people like, it's iffy, and that is a hell of a way to go. The way he did go out.
The Mountain. If memory serves me right, he's not completely dead, and the Maesters are trying to save his life.
Well, do you want me to tell you what's going on with him?
I want to know.
Sure.
I do want to know.
Okay. So it wasn't really explored too much on the show, but Cersei is going to have a new master healer instead of that guy who's the character's name I'm forgetting, with the white beard that Tyrion threw into the dungeon when he was Hand. So there's a guy who was working at Valhalla, where Tywin Lannister was camped for a while, who's basically like what was the doctor's name in the Nazi regime who was experimenting on
Dr. Frankenstein?
No, Dr. The Nazi doctor who did bizarre medical experiments. Mengele, yeah. So he's basically going to become like Cersei's Dr. Mengele. And what the Viper did, what Prince Oberyn did, was on his spear points he had some very rare poison, which you can't cure, and it will kill him very slowly. So basically, Cersei's Mengele is going to be experimenting on the mountain, but it's going to be a very slow and painful death. Unless HBO does something with the character that doesn't follow the book, which could happen.
Well, it actually said in that episode that he will be changed if he survives. So that's why I called the guy Dr. Frankenstein.
Yeah, and by the way, is it just me, or did that scene, the fight scene between the Viper and the Mountain, was just amazing choreography? But I was flashing back to that actor in The Princess Bride. My name is Indigo Montoya. You killed my father.
Mandy Patinkin.
Yeah, me too.
Mandy
See,
Patinkin.
That's why. That's why.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah, that's why you gotta bring out the Princess Bride memes right about now, because I said, he's not dead. He's just mostly dead. There's a big difference between dead,
mostly dead and all dead.
Mostly
No,
dead.
listen, folks. I know the actual quote because I've watched that scene 900 times. It just so happens he's only mostly dead.
Yes.
Moving on. The spider. Is his name Varys?
Varys.
Yeah, Varys.
What's going on with Varys?
I think he's going to have a huge role in bringing Dany to the Seven back to Westeros.
Dany, who?
Daenerys Targaryen, the mother of dragons.
Oh, yeah, Dany, yes, yes.
I think he's been involved with people on the other side of the shallow sea. I think that's what it's called. Who are working towards that. That's my theory.
Yeah.
Now he's also helping Tyrion out of King's Landing. And
Yes.
where's he sending Tyrion in the crate?
Do you want to know?
Daenerys.
No. I'm not going to tell you. No. But I'm
darn.
not.
I think he's sending him to Bravos, and I think he might actually meet up with Arya.
I honestly believe he's sending him to Daenerys.
Yeah, I think I heard something like that from someone else.
Oh wait, yeah, there was this scene. When Daenerys kicks. I can't remember his name, but he's like he's
Jorah,
been
Sir
advisor.
Jorah, Sir Jorah
Sir
Mormont.
Jorah just kicks him out like, get the fuck out of here.
Who was
found out
also
you
on
betrayed
Downton
me.
Abbey, by the way. He was in, I think, season 2 or 3 of Downton Abbey.
Everybody's on Downton Abbey, I guess.
Oh my god, we have to have an entire Tales from the Infrared special just about Downton Abbey.
See, I haven't even watched the
Another
show.
show for me to catch up on. Great.
No,
Damn it, I haven't even watched it.
that is
everybody's
not
like-
a geek culture show. It really isn't.
We're
But it is a
we're
geek-
talking about Game of Thrones,
It
and
is
everybody's
too,
referencing
goddammit.
Downton Abbey. Like, ugh.
Maybe Penny Dreadful, because shit got really crazy up in there.
But I mean, it's obvious
what
that
were you saying?
Daenerys.
Yeah.
Yep, so Downton Abbey is a geek show if it provides an excuse for us to talk about it.
Yes.
Right.
But I mean, it's clear that Daenerys does have some sort of like a spy that's working for her in Westeros, and does anybody know if it is Varys, or does anybody know that it's not Varys?
It can't be Varys because Varys is the one that. Oh God, what was his name again, Dr. T? The one she kicked out.
Sir
Yeah,
Jorah
yeah.
Mormont.
Yes.
Yeah, that's who he was reporting to.
Yeah.
So it can't be Varys.
He was reporting to the Lannisters, but Varys is the master of whisperers. So because Jorah wanted to be pardoned, so he could go back to the Seven Kingdoms. But I think Varys is going to turn out to be, if there is such a thing as one of the good guys on Game of Thrones. I'm predicting Varys is going to be on that side.
I'm not so sure. I think Varys is more of a. He'll be on the winning side. He doesn't care whether or not it's the good side.
No, I think
I'm
he
not
cares.
sure.
I think he cares, and I think that's why he's helping Tyrion.
I could be wrong. I mean,
And I think
But-
he is the counterfoil to Littlefinger.
Well, like
Yeah.
I have to agree with Dr. T, because it was I believe it was this season, it was actually revealed why he worked so hard to be in the position where he was in, and honestly, it's just to set wrongs right. One of the biggest wrongs
can see
was the old man that he had crated into King's Landing.
That was a great scene.
oh
The
yeah.
guy the wizard who castrated him.
Yes, the wizard
Yeah,
who
yeah.
castrated him, and I'm not 100% sure. My memory is not serving me well right now, but I think there was also some abuse that went on beyond the castration.
Lots of abuse. Yes.
Yeah.
So Varys's motivations are just to right wrongs. So I think he's going to end up on the side of good. Despite him being a master manipulator in his own right, I think he's going to end up on the side of good.
I think what we have with Littlefinger and Varys are often these kinds of characters who have that sort of, I guess, moral ambiguity, because oftentimes what ends up happening is they end up making the decisions that other people can't make, or they just don't feel comfortable making. They make the hard decisions. They do what other people won't do to get things done.
Yeah, for them, the ends justify the means. And for Varys, the ends is righting wrongs, and for Littlefinger, the ends is whatever the fuck he wants at the time.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think Varys is more of a manipulator for the side of what's right. I can see that. But yes, Littlefinger is definitely, it's what he wants. He will manipulate to get what he wants.
Well, he's compensating he's got a chip on his shoulder from being not from a not so noble house, being rejected by Catelyn Stark. So he wants to win to compensate, and he doesn't give a shit who he hurts or if it's for the good of the kingdom. It's about his personal glory and his wanting to get even with the people who made him feel less than. That's my opinion.
That sounds very narcissistic right there.
Well, yeah.
Hey, you know what? I've only done a little bit of studying in psychology.
Yeah.
In layman's terms, he's a slippery asshole.
Okay, yes, that works. I know you were trying to speak, by all means.
No, I was just going to say he seemed to be a honey badger on his own behalf.
Huh?
He doesn't give a shit who he fucks over, just so long as he doesn't give a shit.
I just got that.
He doesn't give a fuck.
To the conference.
Yeah, he doesn't give a fuck.
Got it.
Brienne of Tarth. Any predictions for Brienne of Tarth?
Oh,
I think she's going to be lost in the woods for a while, but she's going to slowly find her way. I don't know if she will actually find Sansa, and I doubt she'll find Arya again, but she will continue looking.
Yeah, I want to see her get with Jaime, though, but I don't know if it will ever be. I think it's the love that can never be, but I really wish it would happen.
Yeah, and I hope they don't kill off Nikolai Volder-Castow. He's just too pretty to die.
Which one was that?
Jaime Lannister. I had a hard time the first 2 seasons reconciling my physical attraction to him because he played such a shitheel. So I was glad to see
that is true.
I was glad to see
I do
the
just
moral
like
development. I know.
And that's funny. I was just sitting here thinking he's too pretty to live.
Oh. I felt that about Jon Snow, though. I felt that many times about Jon Snow. I'm like, Jon Snow, you're so pretty, but I wish you would fucking do something.
I think he's getting there. I honestly
think getting there.
Yeah, it's true.
Something. I think Dina's right that Jon Snow still has a very, very big part to play in this Game of Thrones story, and I think season 5 is when we're going to actually get to see him start making moves towards that.
Well, right now the Castle Black, the wall has no commander, right? So there's a power vacuum, and Stannis is up there, so it's going to get interesting.
But I honestly think that's why George R.R. Martin actually wrote Jaime the way he did in this past season, where he's sort of teetering.
He needs redemption, right? Being called the Kingslayer really bothers him.
Well, I mean, he's sort of written in a way where it's like in some scenes you like him, but in other scenes you're reminded of why he's such a piece of shit. Like there are scenes where, with him and Brienne, where it's like, oh my god, this is actually a really good character and he's completely redeemable. But then there are scenes where he's having sex with his sister next to their dead son, and you're like, yeah, he's a complete piece of shit. So, I mean, the character of Jaime Lannister is so polarizing in and of itself. And I think he's not going to die simply because he's so polarizing.
I think
you like him at some times, but you hate him at other times. So
I think Jaime Lannister is more of an actual human being than some of the other characters, because yes, there are times where you hate him, there are times that you like him. He doesn't embody one or the other. He really embodies the whole of how a human being is.
Yeah, he's a multi-dimensional character, whereas a lot of the other characters are very
one-dimensional.
One-dimensional.
Especially Brienne. I'm probably going to get some hate mail for that, but yeah, Brienne is very, very one-dimensional.
You do have a point. I mean, she is very one-dimensional as a character. I mean, she's all about honor and doing the right thing, and she will not. She will not bend the rules in any situation whatsoever.
Sometimes you have to bend the rules in life. It sucks. I mean, I would love to live in a world where we don't bend the rules, but sometimes the rules have to be bent. I mean, there are situations where that happens.
Yeah, she's probably one of the last noble people that haven't died.
Uh-oh. And that just gives me a thought that maybe she will be one for this season.
Rachel, you just signed Brienne's death warrant.
I'm sorry! I'm just saying that she's one of the last people... Or, here's the thing, though. Here's the thing I've actually been seeing, though. What ends up happening is that either these people die or they become somewhat corrupted. I mean, you look at Daenerys Targaryen. You say to yourself, oh, wow, I really like her. I really like Dany. And then you start seeing that she's doing some really shitty things. She's fucking up really bad. And she's probably going to...
Look, she's learning to rule.
Well, yeah, but you start to think that maybe she's going to end up being just as crazy and corrupt as her ancestors. But, I mean, I think that could be the thing. I mean, maybe Bran may not die. Maybe what will happen is not that she will become corrupt, but she will find that she has to bend her own rules.
Well, she's going to, that's what all leaders have to do at some point, so
yeah.
I'm sure Sadly. She will. Yeah, it was heartbreaking watching her have to lock up her 2 dragons in the sewers the last episode.
Yeah.
Well,
especially since she's freeing the slaves and she had to put her dragons in chains.
She has to. She has to. Her dragons are starting to burn children alive.
Yeah. Kittens. Like, she's burning kittens.
It's one thing. It's one thing to like cook sheep.
Yeah.
To eat the sheep, but when you're actually burning children, like that's when you know the dragons are starting to become a little out of control.
A little.
And she can't control them anymore.
I don't think she ever really could. I think it was just delusional to think that she was able to.
You might actually have a point there. I was going to say that when the dragons were younger, it seemed like she had control over them. But you might actually be right. It might have only been just a delusion.
Well, they're
wild animals. You can't...
Yeah.
Go ahead, Dr. T.
Oh, no, but I think it's more than just the dragons. I think it's... Right now, she was very idealistic. I'm going to set all of the slaves free and everyone will be happy. It's like, okay, you set the slaves free. Now, how are you going to feed them? How are you going to protect them? Who are you going to put in place to rule these kingdoms? So her idealism is now hitting the reality of what it means to rule.
I'm actually
and she's actually being confronted by some slaves who want to be slaves. They want to go back to their masters.
I gotta say, I called it. I did call this 4 episodes ago, I think. At some point, she's going to have freed all these slaves, and everybody's going to love her, and then she's going to realize now these people actually have to be governed and are going to want to be fed. They're going to want to kept safe, and she could even have riots and rebellions on her hands if she doesn't figure out how to handle that.
Quite possibly.
Yeah, she's not really thinking she's not really thinking in terms of she's not thinking several spaces ahead. She's only thinking about, okay, this is what needs to happen, like, right now. So she doesn't plan as well ahead.
She's not thinking what the practical solutions. She's thinking very idealistically.
And she should never have sent what's-his-name away.
I would agree with
you. That was a mistake, and she is going to pay for that. There's
again?
something.
I can't remember.
Jorah.
Huge mistake to send him away.
Yes.
Huge mistake. She's going to pay big for that.
Oh, yes. Any other predictions before we move on to talk about the conference? Any predictions about anybody? Cersei, Tyrion, anybody?
Tyrion is going to eventually hook up with Daenerys. I've got that on a good source.
I want him to be her hand.
Oh, that would be
I
so
think that's
damn
what's
funny.
going to happen.
Really? Oh, my God, that would be so fucking funny.
And I want Arya to be the
Oh,
Knight Commander, the first woman Knight Commander.
See, I don't think Arya is ever going to do that. I think what she's going to do is, I think she likes the idea of being an assassin or whatever. I think she likes being in that kind of sort of gray morality.
I think she likes the idea of it, but I think she will find that the reality of it is something that she can't actually live with.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like I think Arya is going to find out that she's going to have to change her name. She's going to have to change her appearance to blend in, so that nobody knows that she is actually Arya Stark.
She's already done that. Many times.
Oh yeah, she has. Never mind. Okay. I guess, yeah. Any other predictions? That I'll shut up now.
No, I think it's time to talk about the conference.
Yay!
All right. I guess, yeah. Let's move on to the conference. I, for one, think that the conference was a massive success.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and announce here that I can't put the URL, because it's long and complicated, but I've actually created a playlist, and I have just finalized a playlist, which if you go onto Paul Elam's channel and find the playlist called International Conference on Men's Issues 2014, you hit the first video, and it will play every single presentation, one after the other. Nicely edited, good quality audio, good quality video.
In the order that it was done, or in the order that it should?
All done.
Dean, I'm going to be. I'm probably going to be a party pooper. I think they should have reorganized some of the speakers.
Well, I think that the only thing I would call a misstep, and I think we had one misstep in terms of the speakers, and that is I think we went straight from Terrence Popp's devastatingly and emotionally gut-wrenching performance straight in with no break to a stand-up comedy performance by Stefan Molyneux. And really, people should have had about a half hour to absorb what they had just seen out of Terrence Popp. But we were winging that stuff, to be blunt with you, and otherwise, what else would you complain about?
Well, and this is something to consider for next year's event, which is getting at least a rough idea of what the speakers are going to be presenting on, and perhaps scheduling them with some sensibility of what their content is going to be.
Yeah, some overlap in content. That's actually one of the things I was thinking about earlier, is that, like putting, you had I believe it was Senator Coles and Aaron Pitsey right next to each other, which was phenomenal. But I know that there were a couple of others where that overlap would have been very good as well.
Well, the thing is about Senator Coles and Aaron Pitsey is that they spoke back-to-back per their request, and we're generally not in the habit of saying no to a senator. Speak with us.
Fair enough.
One of the things to point out about some of the missteps, and I'm just going to speak to it in a general sense. We have put a post up on the site in the bulletins for people to give us feedback about about next year's conference and things that we can improve on. I also sent out a group email to all the speakers to see if there's ways that they felt that we could improve and make their experience more enjoyable. Overall, though, considering that there was a handful of people making about 35 million decisions, changing venues over the course of a few weeks in preparation for this, I do think that the ABFM team did an incredible job of pulling this off, and it was an enormous success. But we are taking the suggestions all into consideration, and we will put that into the next conference where everything there will also not be perfect. But the main goal, which was to have this conference and to have this incredible lineup of speakers actually talk directly to the issues instead of pussyfooting around about them for a change, I think came off smashingly well.
I agree.
Mm-hmm. And I think everybody had a good time. I don't think I've ever walked out of a conference.
Oh, yeah.
Where so many people said, my God, that was awesome. I didn't hear a single bad word from anybody coming out of there. Well, except, of course, the press. Who, of course, just all over us at every opportunity.
Yeah, we had such a blast.
I know.
Yeah, I heard there were only like a half a dozen people there that weren't speakers, and
yeah. It was a big empty hall. There was about 30 people in total. That's what the Metro Times reported. I just got off the phone with Lee DeVito to talk to him about that. Well, we got a few things we'll be writing up about now that the video.
Turn on the spanking machine.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
Oh God, I'm sorry.
Oh gosh!
I just woke my dog up. No, I don't. You're okay.
I think the most fun I had was with other MRAs hanging out afterwards, things like that. Oh gosh, the times at the Limelight were fun. You were there when I sang, Tara.
I do. I'm trying to get the phone off my video. For some reason, it's telling me that the image won't process, and I also have
phone off your video?
I also have Mark Angelucci, attorney Mark Angelucci, vice president of NCFM, singing "Big Balls" by AC/DC, which must be shared with the world at large.
Yes, I
believe Jeff K actually has a. Go on.
Tara, can I suggest to you that rather than try to get the phone off your video, get the video off of your phone.
Oh, is that what I said? Well, I tried doing that too. Sorry, I'm having time for another coffee. Words are not coming out in the right order.
Yeah, I believe one of the Honey Badgers got video of Sage Gerard, Victor Zen, dancing at that 21-year-old's birthday party. We just danced out of nowhere. Oh, that was entertaining.
Awesome.
I have a couple of things I want to announce, and the couple of them are not even announcements. I just want to let people know some of the process that is going in to the next conference. One, let me announce, slightly off topic, but actually relevant in its own way. This week, as a matter of fact, before the next show of Tales from the Infrared airs, ABFM will be celebrating its 10 millionth visit to the website.
Wow. Amazing.
Yes. Very excited about that. I'll be writing up a piece about that. Also, conference-related, but more related to Spanking Machine. I want to call everybody's attention to the website tomorrow, where I will be publishing a bunch of stuff that we had withheld for legal reasons in our dealings with DoubleTree Hilton and all the fiasco of their conduct that led to so much chaos and excellent work for us. It is all online on ABF.
I think the feminists have hacked Paul's computer.
Paul, you're robotizing. Paul is robotizing.
Oh, am I better now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Much better.
Pick up from what you were saying about DoubleTree.
We're having thunderstorms roll through here right now, so that may have something to do with it. I don't know. But we will be publishing all kinds of things from Hilton related to the alleged police cases. We will be publishing in its entirety our attorney's letter to Hilton. We will be asking questions of the DoubleTree Hilton in Detroit that are very uncomfortable, one of which is it even safe for a sitting senator to stay at that hotel, considering that the Hilton DoubleTree downtown in Detroit allegedly got death threats against conference attendees and speakers and did not bother to contact police until after they had their lawyers trying to extort money from A Voice for Men. The spanking machine is being calibrated as we speak.
Let me know if you need some WD-40.
We have it by the gallon.
Good.
And we're going to be pouring it in. But all the things that we couldn't talk about before because we were preparing for a conference and everybody was consumed with it, and because there were some legal issues, there were certainly, and I think they were valid questions for people to raise about what was actually happening with the conference, why we weren't talking about it. All of that will be explained on the front page of A Voice for Men tomorrow, and I can promise you, in true ABFM FTSU fashion, it is not going to be pretty.
That is one thing that I've had a question on, Paul. How much security was there for Senator Coons? Because if I remember correctly, she should have had at least some form of U.S. FBI or something there as protection, because she is a visiting senator from another country. If something had happened to her, that would have been an international incident.
I am not aware of the level of security provided for Senator Coons, nor might I be if they do security the way that people at that level do it. What I will tell you is that at the conference itself, we had our own security team of 8. In addition to that, we had 3 St. Clair Shores police officers there. We had a police supervisor, a squad car, and a little field go-kart for them to circle the building.
And by the way, my experience of law enforcement there was very positive. I thought they were just great.
They were very professional, very friendly to us. It was a pleasure to do business with them. So there was a lot of security, and it was costly, but it was worth it just to make sure that everybody felt safe at the conference, and I'm sure that Senator Coons was safe. No thanks to Doubletree Downtown Hilton, who again was aware of a threat against a sitting senator, and their first action was to ask me for money.
And to shake you down.
Yes, the first thing to do was to do the shakedown on ABFM. Then later down the road, they filed a police report. This is absolutely the story behind this, as you will see unfold on the pages of ABFM tomorrow, is absolutely outrageous. The conduct of Doubletree Hilton was negligent, and I believe maliciously so. There's much more to this story. I'm not going to do. I'm not going to give a spoiler on it. But by all means, if you want to read a big part of this story, visit the page tomorrow evening, the front page, and you'll see it out there. We have a feeling Doubletree is not going to like this very much, and I think everybody on this show right now can imagine the 2 words that we have in response to them if they don't like.
Too bad.
This is finally our opportunity to get the whole story out there about what really happened with that security fiasco that was orchestrated by the Doubletree Hilton.
Okay, I have to ask, Paul, and I'll certainly be reading everything published tomorrow about it, but I have to ask, with everything that you just mentioned, the fact that Doubletree tried to get money out of you before they went to the police, the fact that are you now thinking that there weren't any death threats by the feminist protesters and that Doubletree made it up in order to try and extort more money?
It's impossible for me to say conclusively, because here's the deal. Hilton, a couple of days after they sent me a letter saying I needed to spend another $30,000 on security for the event because they were terrified at the level of horrific threats they were receiving. A couple of days after that, they bothered to call police and say that there were threats. There are 2 case numbers that we have. However, the Detroit Police Department will not release the details of those complaints unless Doubletree representatives sign off on it. We can't even get it through a Freedom of Information Act request. So it is locked down tightly. It is up to Hilton to quit bullshitting the public, quit lying to people, quit creating false threat narratives, and to simply release the details of those reports to the public. to justify why they were trying to shake down a Voice for Men for more money. Which what they were actually doing, folks, let's get real. They were undermining the event. Their purpose in this was to get rid of us. They had no legal reason to do so. We had done nothing wrong whatsoever. We had abided strictly by every term of our contract with them. They had been paid. They had everything that was required of us had been done. DoubleTree's agenda was to get rid of us because of political pressure from the union, which DoubleTree has just consistently lied about throughout this case. So the nature of the threats, who knows what they were? They could have been somebody calling in a legitimate death threat. They could have been somebody calling in and saying that we won't come to your hotel if you let these guys speak. We don't know what they were because DoubleTree is hiding it from the public. But we're going to make sure at this point that there is some pressure on DoubleTree to quit playing games and hide and seek with the truth and to come out and let the public know what happened. Because we're not just going to run one article. I'm dedicating probably half of my writing over the next year to reminding people that DoubleTree Hilton in downtown Detroit says they got threats involving a senator from Canada, a female senator at that. Not that her life is more valuable, but it is, for PR purposes, not very good for them, that they got these supposed threats and they did nothing except use it as an excuse to extort money. Their purpose was to shut us down. We ended up having our conference anyway, which was a smashing success.
And we're getting more robotizing again.
Yep. Paul, you're robotizing up again.
The feminists are hacking Paul's computer.
Okay. Apologies, we have severe thunderstorms going through here now, I'm sure. Yeah, either that or I don't know, maybe it's the DoubleTree.
Awesome.
There will be a series of articles on this. I am not going to stop writing about this. I am not going to stop calling DoubleTree into question regularly at avoiceformen.com with the most damning information that I have, and I have quite a bit, and I'm going to continue that until DoubleTree cleans its goddamned act up.
Don't be that lying hotel?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, Paul, I am certainly.
You know that Hilton is pretty bad when the Hilton heiress goes to another hotel to film her sex tape.
I haven't seen that. I'll have to find out.
Wow. I think it was filmed
You're a bad liar, Jim.
I think she was bobbing the head at Marriott.
I think she was too.
Oh, and these beds are so
That's
comfy.
funny. Oh, gosh. Left a mint on the pillow.
Probably not all.
But what's the thing quickly, if I can, if I'm not robotizing now, if I've got a clear...
You're good.
You're good, right?
There's not a lot of decisions.
And just as we say that, he starts to robotize again. The feminist storm clouds, people. The feminist storm clouds. I'm clear now, right?
Yes.
Yeah, because you guys robotize on me when it gets bad. We have a lot of decisions to make about the next conference, but one of the ones that I'm going to insist on, few ones I'm going to insist on unilaterally, is that we are going to have the press contained to a small window to come in and ask their stupid questions, and the rest of our conference is going to be for our attendees to socialize with each other, to get together, and to feel comfortable speaking to each other without these scumbags walking around looking for...
Thank you.
And I am going to ask either Paul or James or Dean, please remind me ahead of time, because for the next conference, I want to be there. And I want to be able to plan far enough ahead to make sure that I am there.
I'm already saving up for it.
And you will be there at the next one. We'll make sure you have plenty of notice.
Like I said, I'm already saving up for it for the next one.
Oh, that's going to be awesome to have everybody from Tales from the Infrared. Oh my gosh.
Yes, and it's
we've
going
learned
to be
so
a part.
much. We learned so much doing this, and there's so many things that we can plan for. Hell, we might even have an episode of Tales from the Infrared during the conference.
That is
amazing. That's just a maybe.
That would be amazing.
It would.
Well, it's just a maybe, but you know something? It's not outside the realm of possibility. I would love to see an episode of Tales from the Infrared broadcast during the conference.
And there'll be a whole new season of Game of Thrones to discuss.
Yes!
Are you guys?
Yes.
And we can see if our
join
predictions came. If it's a Game of Thrones show, sure. I might even. I actually last year for Halloween I went as a middle-aged brave, so I do have a medieval gown I could wear.
Awesomeness.
Oh my gosh, cosplay.
I do want to actually get into some of the specifics of the conference, and first and foremost, I want to say that I'm not sure is he comfortable with his name being used?
You would have to say
openly.
You know that.
Talking about.
The individual who handled the live stream. Is he comfortable with his name being used?
David King, yeah.
David, okay. I do want to mention that originally I was approached to handle the live streaming, but due to complications, I couldn't make it. But I just wanted to say, great job, David. If you're listening, you did an amazing job handling the live stream. There were a few complications on the first day, but the second day came through beautifully. And I just want to, give a shout out to everybody handling the live stream. David King, I think also James Huff was there helping out with the live stream as well. Yeah, you guys did an amazing job.
Let me add what was doubly amazing about that is that David King had no idea how to do a live video stream. He figured it out on the spot. So that's even doubly impressive. But
that's how we roll at ADFM, people. We got some people with mad skills from the people on this show, through our technical department and everywhere else. We have collected a team of some of the most brilliant people I've ever had the pleasure of being associated with. And I'll echo their sentiment, Christian. David and people have no idea unless they were how hard David worked. And he made things go as smoothly as possible. Couldn't be more proud of him.
He busted his ass. He was up and down that hall.
Yeah.
Making things work. It was very impressive.
Oh, and the Honey Badgers rocked out, too, and they were a major help all over the place. They really were.
Oh, thank you.
Yep.
Well,
yes.
Sadly...
artwork of me, which was very good, so now I have a wall of Paul.
Sadly, it looks like our back room is having technical difficulties.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not too sure if we could still be heard. I mean, apparently we're still connected to Live 365 through the secondary, but
our personal recordings are...
Yeah, our personal recording is now gone, so...
No!
We don't have the backup?
I have the entire episode recorded. So
thank you, Dean.
Oh,
thank
Dean, you're a lifesaver.
Right.
I am.
I love you.
We still have the recorded show for going up on YouTube and replaying through Live 365 when there's not a live show happening.
I need
so
someone
that's
else
good.
to volunteer to convert the damn thing to MP4 for uploading because I'm too tired and I need a break.
Yeah.
The conference actually, you know what? From my perspective, the conference itself ended about 2 hours ago when I uploaded the last edited video. And now the conference is over for me, and I can start writing after conference so that we can spank MSNBC, spank the
Hilton.
It's not done until the DVD commentary, is it, Dean?
No, that's on the wall.
Guys, I'm back.
Okay.
Yay!
Welcome back, James.
Not good. Not good.
Well, Dean has a recording of the entire show, so
oh, thank God.
That you can don't stress about that.
I love you,
and apparently we were still connected to Live 365 through the secondary, so that's fine.
Well, maybe we should get to wrapping this up, and I will send this off to the group. Somebody convert it to MP4 for me so I can put it online. I don't want to do any more video editing.
I'll take care of that. Just get it to me.
You got it, brother.
I'll take care of it. Pass it right to you. Okay.
Okay. Are we
All right.
done?
Well, I guess we're going to wrap this up. I did kind of want to get into the actual specific speakers and what they talked about, but apparently we are completely out of time.
Hey, we'll come back next
not
week
going to
and
be able
do
to
it.
do that.
Yes.
Yes.
I would be honored if you would invite me back for one more show because there's a lot of
Anytime.
comments I'd like to make about it.
Paul, you are invited anytime. Anytime you want to come on Tales from the Infrared, you are more than welcome.
You own this. What are you talking about?
You're Mr. Bossman.
I own intellectual property, but the thing is that AVFM is as successful as it is because I've, for some reason, been able to attract really intelligent, skilled people, and I am smart enough to stay the fuck out of their way and let them do it their way. So I ask permission.
Just so you know, you are welcome anytime you want to come on Tales from the Infrared.
And yeah, if you guys want to hold Tales from the Infrared every Saturday or as many Saturdays as you want until both Aaron and Dean fill out their magic Rolodex and start putting the rest of the AVFM interviewers to shame, then by all means.
I'm up for it.
Aaron Pittsey's show is going on hiatus until early fall, so, if you guys want to do this weekly, I'm all for it, too. Let's see what we get.
Yeah, I'm all for that, too. I mean, moving it to weekly temporarily.
Failing that, I can always run my impromptu MRA discussion groups.
There you go.
I'm up for that, too.
So work as well. I actually had a lot of fun the last time we did that, and you invited me.
I'm still waiting for the last one to be up on YouTube.
Yeah.
All right, then. Well, I guess,
does anybody else have anything that they want to say? Last words for either Game of Thrones or the AVFM conference.
Fuck you, MSNBC. We're coming for you. We're coming
Detroit
for you.
2014!
And I also want to say fuck you, feminism. The days where you have silenced people being in dissent of your sick, hateful ideology are fucking over.
Amen, brother.
Yes. I have two things. Sarkeesian, we're coming for you too.
See, I was going to say that, Jim, and I decided against it because I thought we were being serious.
Fuck it.
And now we're back in the silly place, and now I have to say, I have to say that Anita Sarkeesian is a cunt, and be done with it.
Okay, you're on Tales from the Infrared, and you're surprised that we're silly?
The C word, but just remember.
No.
You use the C word, but just remember, cunt really just stands for can't understand normal thinking.
Okay, that's actually a slice of brilliance by Terrence Klopp, because some of his videos run a little too crass, and because of that, I can't put them on my website because, I think the last one I saw had a photo of a woman that had a joculate on her face, which just isn't consistent with my website. But can't understand normal thinking is brilliant. That's right up there, in my opinion, with MSW must serve women.
Yes,
absolutely.
And if I may,
thank you for having me here today. It was a lot of fun.
Should we sing? Should we do a group rendition of the Reigns of Castamere?
No. You do not want me singing. You do not want me singing. I do not want people's ears to bleed. Please. I'm doing this for the safety of other people.
You could burp it like they did at the bar in Molestown.
Dr. T, the idea is to gain viewers, not...
yes.
I know.
I am back self-promotion. This is true.
We could do the philosopher song. Immanuel Kant was a real peasant that was very rarely stable. I dig her was a boozy. Nobody knows.
Okay, we're being told to wrap it up.
Yeah, we got to wrap it up.
So I have that one last thing for everybody. Take the red pill.
Right.
Damn it! You stole my line, you prick.